We spend so much time trying to figure out what men want that we forget what truly makes someone unforgettable. It's not about being perfect. It's not about having the right look, the right words, or the right timing. The real magnetism, the kind that makes someone feel drawn to you without even knowing why, comes down to energy, not effort, not performance, energy. The way you show up, the way you carry yourself, the way you make someone feel when they're around you. There's a certain type of energy that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't prove. It just is. It's calm, it's clear, it's confident. It says, I know who I am. And if you want to be part of my world, show me you're worthy of it. That's the energy men fall for, not just once, but over and over again. Not because they're being manipulated, but because they're being pulled in by something real, something rare, something they can't manufacture or replace. In this talk, I want to walk you through the 6 kinds of energy that trigger that pull in the most powerful way, the kind that bypasses his logic and goes straight to his instincts. If you've ever wondered why some women leave a lasting impression without even trying, this is why. Let's break it down. There's an unmistakable power in the energy of calm confidence. It's the kind of presence that doesn't have to announce itself to be felt. It doesn't need approval to validate it, and it's never frantically trying to be liked. Instead, it's rooted, grounded, and quietly certain. When a woman walks into a room with that kind of energy, everything around her slows down. She doesn't demand attention, but she commands it. And it's not just men who notice, everyone feels it. But for men in particular, this calm confidence triggers a powerful response. Because it's so rare, in a world full of performance, pretense, and insecurity masked as bravado, true confidence, quiet, assured, unshakable, is magnetic. This kind of confidence doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean pretending not to care. It means knowing your value so deeply that you don't need anyone else to reflect it back to you. It's when you know your worth, and because of that, you don't chase validation. You don't feel the need to fill silences with nervous chatter or over-explain yourself or impress someone into staying. You simply are, and that is enough. Men are drawn to this energy because it gives them something they crave but rarely find: emotional safety. A woman who's secure in herself doesn't put pressure on a man to complete her. She's not a constant question mark, not a source of drama, not trying to fix him or prove herself to him. Her presence tells him, I've got me. You don't need to carry me, fix me, or fill my gaps. I'm whole already. And that kind of wholeness invites a man to rise into his strength instead of shrinking under the weight of emotional responsibility. There's also something incredibly intriguing about a woman who isn't trying to win someone over. That's not to say she's cold or distant. It's the opposite, actually. She can be warm, engaged, and present, but there's no desperation behind it. She's not giving to get. Her time, attention, and affection are gifts, not currencies. That makes a man feel like he's in the presence of someone who knows she's the prize and isn't afraid to act like it. That's the kind of energy that stays in a man's mind long after she's gone. It makes him question why he's thinking about her so much, why her voice echoes in his head, why he keeps wondering what she's doing and who she's with. This kind of woman doesn't just walk away when things aren't aligned. She glides away, not because she doesn't care, but because she won't compromise her peace for a connection that's not right. She doesn't force, she flows. She doesn't beg, she blesses and moves forward. And that absence, that lack of clinging or needing to be chosen, is what haunts him. It's what makes him look back and ask himself why he let her go. It's what makes him feel the contrast when he's with someone else who doesn't have that same depth of self-knowing. He may not even be able to explain it, but he feels it. Every man has encountered a woman like this at some point, and if he wasn't ready for her, he never really forgot her. What's most compelling is that this energy isn't loud or dramatic, it's subtle. It's in the way she holds eye contact without trying to read him. It's in the way she listens, not to find her moment to speak, but because she's genuinely present. It's in the way she says no without guilt and yes without fear. She doesn't play hard to get, but she is hard to forget because she doesn't make her availability her value. She makes her standards her compass. And that makes a man feel like if he wants to be part of her life, he's going to have to bring something real to the table. Because she's not trading connection for potential. She's living in truth. And she's only entertaining someone who can meet her there. This kind of calm confidence is a game changer. It's not about manipulation, performance, or having a strategy. It's about doing the inner work to get to a place where your value isn't up for negotiation, where your self-worth isn't non-transferable, where you don't need to perform to be loved, you just need to be present. That's the energy men fall for, every time. Mystery is not about playing games. It's not about being emotionally unavailable or cold. Real mystery, the kind that pulls a man in and keeps him thinking about you, is born from a deep connection to your own inner world. It's the quiet power of a woman who doesn't lay all her cards on the table, not because she's hiding anything, but because she understands that depth is something revealed slowly and intentionally. When a woman lives a rich, full life outside of any romantic attachment, she naturally becomes mysterious. Not because she's trying to be, but because there's always more to discover about her. That kind of presence is magnetic. It invites curiosity, it lingers. Too often, people confuse transparency with dumping their entire story on someone right away. But mystery isn't about being closed off, it's about allowing space. When you don't feel the need to immediately explain yourself, justify your actions, or fill every silence, you create intrigue. You give a man the chance to wonder, to pursue, to explore who you are layer by layer. This isn't manipulation, it's emotional maturity. It's the ability to pace intimacy so it builds over time, which is exactly what strengthens a deeper emotional bond. When you allow someone to earn your vulnerability, they value it more when they finally receive it. Mystery also comes from a woman who has something of her own going on. She's not sitting around waiting for his text. She's living her life. She has passions, dreams, friends, and experiences that don't revolve around him. That kind of independence breeds curiosity. When a man knows you're not waiting for him to entertain you, impress you, or rescue you, he starts to feel the pull. He wonders what's going on in your world. He starts to see you as someone he wants to step into alignment with, not someone he needs to pull into his orbit. There's also an element of restraint in mystery that's incredibly attractive. It's the woman who can have a great time on a date without needing to overshare. The one who can flirt without needing to control where things go. The one who knows that just because someone asks a personal question doesn't mean they've earned the answer. This isn't about being guarded, it's about being discerning. And men respect a woman who is selective about who gets access to her inner life. It makes them want to be one of the few who do. The mystery also lies in how a woman holds herself in everyday moments. It's in her grace, her ability to pause before she speaks, the way she listens more than she talks. It's in the way she can be fully engaged without being overly eager. It's in the way she gives just enough for him to feel connected, but not so much that the connection becomes one-sided. This balance keeps him emotionally present because he's not just being fed easy answers. He's been invited to participate in discovering her. A mysterious woman doesn't seek validation through attention. She doesn't post for reaction. She doesn't dress to prove something. She doesn't drop subtle hints to fish for compliments. She already knows who she is, and that quiet certainty makes her captivating. Men aren't drawn to someone who's trying too hard. They're drawn to someone who doesn't need to try at all. That kind of energy leaves an impression. It keeps him checking your page, rereading your texts, wondering where your mind is. It stays with him. What makes mystery so powerful is that it operates beneath the surface. It doesn't scream, it whispers. And it's in that whisper that desire is born. Not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't say. Not because of what you gave, but because of what you saved for later. When a man feels that there's always more to learn about you, when he senses there's a story still unfolding, he stays invested. He shows up. He tries, because mystery feeds desire. It awakens his need to earn access to something special. And that's a dynamic where deep, lasting attraction can thrive. Confidence is the kind of energy that doesn't just enter a room, it changes the room, but not in the way people often think. True confidence isn't loud. It doesn't seek to dominate the conversation or be the center of attention. It's not about being the funniest or the most glamorous. It's about being at peace with yourself. It's the quiet self-belief that says, I don't need to prove anything to anyone to be worthy. That kind of confidence is incredibly attractive to men because it gives off the message, I'm already enough, with or without your approval. And that's rare. That's powerful. Men are drawn to confidence not because it's flashy, but because it feels safe. A confident woman doesn't make a man responsible for her self-worth. She doesn't crumble if he pulls away, and she doesn't chase validation through his attention. That emotional steadiness is grounding. It makes a man feel like he can relax around her, like he's not walking into a relationship where he's going to be constantly tested, evaluated, or pressured to make her feel good about herself. And here's the paradox. Because she doesn't need his approval, he's more compelled to give it. Because she's not chasing love, it starts chasing her. What makes confidence even more magnetic is when it's paired with warmth. Some people confuse confidence with coldness, as if being self-assured means being detached or uninterested. But real confidence has heart. It's kind, it's open. It can hold eye contact without being aggressive. It can smile without pretending. It doesn't compete with others or try to be better than anyone else. It knows that someone else being beautiful or successful or loved doesn't take anything away from you. That secure energy is disarming. It allows people to let their guard down. It makes a man feel like he can truly see you, not just be impressed by you. A confident woman also makes decisions from a place of value. She doesn't settle. She doesn't stay where she's not respected. She doesn't confuse chemistry with compatibility. When a man sees that you're capable of walking away from what doesn't serve you, it creates a deeper respect. He realizes that if he's going to be part of your world, he has to show up with something real. That doesn't mean she's perfect or emotionless. It means she honors herself too much to participate in anything that diminishes her peace. And that integrity is deeply attractive. Confidence also shows up in how you carry yourself. It's in your posture, your tone, your pacing. You can always tell when someone is rushing their words because they're afraid of being interrupted or not taken seriously. But when you speak slowly and clearly, it sends a message. What I have to say matters. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to over-explain to be understood. When you stop seeking permission to take up space, you naturally become more compelling. You become the kind of woman people lean in to listen to. It's important to understand that confidence doesn't mean the absence of insecurity. It means not letting your insecurities lead. Everyone has doubts. Everyone has moments where they feel unsure. But confident women have a habit of coming back to their center. They don't spiral. They don't abandon themselves when they're triggered. They breathe. They reflect. And they ask themselves, what would I do right now if I fully believed in my worth? Then they act from that place. Even when it's hard, that inner alignment creates an outer magnetism. You can feel it when someone is rooted in self-respect. When a man meets a woman who owns her confidence without apology, it wakes something up in him. It challenges him to meet her on that level. It stirs his admiration. It separates her from every other person who is looking for someone to complete them. She's not asking him to fill a gap. She's inviting him to witness the fullness of her being. And when he senses that she's already fulfilled, already living, already whole, he doesn't want to be the reason she's happy. He wants to be the one who adds to what she already has. That's the kind of dynamic where real connection begins, and it all starts with the energy of confidence. Mystery is a form of emotional artistry. It's not about playing games or withholding affection. It's about allowing space for curiosity, depth, and imagination. One of the most overlooked but deeply magnetic energies is when a woman is able to be open without being completely transparent, when she shares without spilling, when she reveals without unloading. That balance between vulnerability and restraint creates a powerful intrigue. A man starts to lean in, not because she's hard to get, but because she's layered. And discovering those layers becomes a journey that he wants to take, not because she's manipulating him into chasing, but because there's something undeniably rich about the way she carries herself. Men fall for what they have to earn, not because they need to work endlessly for love, but because investment creates attachment. Think about it. What we put effort into, we value more. So when you reveal every detail of your life in the first few dates, when you fill every silence with over-explaining, when you feel the need to always be understood, you remove the space for discovery. But when you let moments breathe, when you answer questions thoughtfully but not exhaustively, when you leave certain things for later, it allows him to stay engaged, to stay curious. He doesn't feel like he's already read the last page of your story. He feels like there's more to explore. That sensation is what creates real emotional pull. Now let's be clear. Mystery is not about creating confusion. Confusion is not attractive. Mystery is clarity with depth. A woman who knows what she wants, who communicates honestly, but who also allows the relationship to unfold gradually, she commands attention without needing to demand it. She lets the emotional intimacy build instead of rushing to create it. And because she's not trying to get somewhere quickly, the man has space to lean in, to wonder, to feel. That makes her presence feel fresh even as time passes. Because there's always something left to discover. There's also power in not reacting. This is a subtle kind of mystery that very few people talk about. When a man says something provocative, or when there's a moment of tension, a woman who doesn't flinch, who doesn't take the bait, who holds her ground calmly, that silence, that pause, is louder than any words she could have said. It shows emotional strength. It shows that she's not easily swayed. And that too is mystery, because now he's left wondering what she's thinking, what she's feeling. He has to lean in to connect with her emotionally. That kind of presence speaks volumes, and it draws him in again and again. The mystery also lies in how she leads her life. A woman with passions, pursuits, friendships, and routines that don't revolve around him. She's captivating, not because she's unavailable, but because she's alive. Her energy doesn't orbit his. She brings her own universe into the connection. That energy is rare. When a man feels that she's not waiting to be rescued from boredom, loneliness, or self-doubt, but instead is already thriving, he respects her more. And more importantly, he wants to be part of that world she's created. That world where she's not only the main character, but also the architect of her own peace. Even the way she shares affection is layered with mystery. She knows when to give more and when to pull back, not in a manipulative way, but intuitively. She doesn't overcompensate or over-explain. She might send a message just because she thought of him, but she's not flooding his inbox. She can compliment him without needing to be complimented back. She can make space for connection without needing constant reassurance. That emotional independence makes every act of closeness feel more intentional, more valuable. It's not love on tap. It's love that means something because it comes from choice, not need. Ultimately, mystery is the product of self-respect. When you value yourself enough to not put everything on the table immediately, when you understand that not every part of you needs to be proven, explained, or justified, you begin to move with a kind of grace. You stop trying to make people feel something for you and instead focus on feeling whole within yourself. And ironically, that's what makes people feel so much for you, because there's nothing more attractive than someone who's still unfolding, who allows you to witness her story in chapters, not in a single monologue. It's that patient, elegant unfolding that makes a man not just interested, but invested. Confidence, at its core, is not loud. It's not about walking into a room and commanding attention. True confidence is subtle. It's in the way you sit with yourself, the way you don't need to chase validation because you've already validated yourself. And when it comes to attraction, this quiet confidence is one of the most magnetic forces there is. Men don't fall for the woman who constantly needs to prove herself. They fall for the woman who already knows her worth, whether anyone else sees it or not. She's not trying to perform, she's just being. And in that being, there's power. Confidence means you're not living in constant reaction to someone else's behavior. You're not reading into every text message, every glance, every silence. You're not trying to decode his every move, because your focus isn't on whether you're good enough for him, it's on whether he's good enough for you. That shift in mindset is profound. When you step into your life with that kind of grounded self-respect, you naturally filter out the noise. You're not looking for someone to rescue you from your insecurities. You're looking for someone who adds to a life you already love. That energy changes everything. And here's the paradox. When you're not constantly seeking approval, people tend to give it to you more freely because your confidence makes them curious. They want to know more. They feel drawn to the calm you carry. There's something incredibly disarming about a person who is unapologetically themselves, not in an arrogant way, but in an "I'm at peace with who I am" kind of way. That kind of confidence doesn't demand attention, it attracts it. It doesn't shout, it resonates, and it's often what sticks in a man's mind long after the conversation ends. Confidence is also reflected in your standards. A woman with self-worth doesn't entertain behavior that doesn't align with her values. She doesn't tolerate inconsistency, disrespect, or emotional breadcrumbs. Not because she's harsh or unforgiving, but because she values her time, her energy, and her emotional well-being. She'd rather walk away than compromise what matters. That boundary is incredibly attractive. It sends a clear message. I know what I bring to the table, and I won't settle for less. That doesn't push the right man away. It challenges him to rise. Sometimes people think that confidence is about always being strong, always having the answers. But true confidence is also the ability to be soft without losing yourself, to be vulnerable without making it someone else's responsibility to fix you. A woman who can open up while still standing in her own emotional power, that's rare. That's someone a man can connect with deeply because she's not handing him her sense of worth. She's inviting him into her world without making him the center of it. That subtle difference changes the dynamic entirely. She's not looking to be completed. She's looking to be met. When you move through life with confidence, you also become more selective, not out of fear, but out of clarity. You stop confusing chemistry with compatibility. You stop chasing people who show potential but not consistency. You stop ignoring red flags because you'd rather be with someone than be alone. And ironically, that selectiveness makes you even more desirable. Because men pick up on that energy. They know when they're dealing with someone who has options, who isn't afraid to walk away, who won't shrink herself to fit into their lives. That awareness makes them show up differently, more intentionally, more respectfully. Confidence also gives you the ability to hold space for yourself and for others. You can listen without defensiveness, speak without over-explaining, be present without performing. You're not trying to be what someone wants, you're simply being who you are. That authenticity is liberating. It makes every interaction feel real, unforced, and it allows the right person to connect with you on a soul level, not just based on attraction or convenience, but on resonance, on alignment, on truth. In the end, confidence isn't about having it all together. It's about trusting yourself even when things are messy. It's about knowing you can handle whatever comes your way and that your value doesn't fluctuate based on someone else's ability to see it. When you carry that kind of inner certainty, you radiate something that can't be faked. And that's what lingers in a man's heart. That's what makes him think about you when he's alone, not because you tried to be unforgettable, but because you didn't need to try at all. Mystery isn't about being confusing or playing games. It's not about withholding affection or creating anxiety. It's about having a life so full, so rich, that you never feel the need to constantly be available, to constantly explain, to constantly show all your cards at once. The energy of mystery comes from a woman who knows herself deeply and values her privacy, not because she's hiding anything, but because she knows that not everything is for everyone. And in a world where oversharing has become the norm, that restraint is magnetic. It leaves space for curiosity, for wondering, for longing. Men are wired to pursue, to discover. It's not about manipulation, it's about nature. When everything is laid out up front, when every thought and emotion is immediately expressed, it can sometimes leave nothing left to discover. But when a woman has an inner world, a sense of peace and purpose that exists with or without someone else. It invites a man to want to step inside, to earn her trust, to experience the layers of her gradually. That unfolding is powerful. It creates a connection that's not based on performance, but on exploration. And the more someone has to discover, the more invested they become. Mystery doesn't mean playing hard to get. It means not giving all of yourself away too quickly. It means taking your time, letting someone earn your attention, your vulnerability, your affection. Not because you're guarded, but because you have standards. You're not rushing the process. You're letting it build naturally. And in that time, you're still living, you're growing, you're laughing. You're filling your days with the things that make your soul come alive. That fullness makes you harder to forget because you're not orbiting around him. You're the sun in your own sky. There's something irresistible about a woman who seems to carry a secret joy, a quiet strength, a contentment that isn't dependent on anyone else. She's not trying to convince anyone to stay. She's not broadcasting her every thought in hopes of being seen. She's already seen herself. That kind of inner harmony creates an aura. It lingers after she leaves a room. It makes someone want to reach out just to feel that energy again, because it felt good, it felt grounding, and it didn't demand anything in return. When you embody mystery, you're not afraid of silence. You're not afraid of space. You're not always rushing to fill the void with words or texts or check-ins. You trust in the connection you're building, or you let it go if it's not being nurtured equally. Either way, you're not in a panic. You're not trying to chase or fix or force. That calm, that unshakable trust in your own pace is captivating. It sets you apart, because in a world where everyone is trying to be seen, you're just being. That self-possession draws people in. The mystery also shows up in the way you reveal yourself. You don't overshare as a way to gain closeness. You reveal yourself gradually, intentionally. You share when there's trust, when there's presence, when someone has earned the right to hear the deeper parts of you. That makes every conversation feel sacred, every moment feel like a gift. And the people you allow in, they feel it. They know they're not just getting information. They're being invited into something rare, something real. That feeling is unforgettable. Most importantly, mystery comes from loving your own company, from being genuinely happy in your own space. When you don't need constant interaction to feel whole, you stop chasing validation. You stop performing for affection. You stop trying to prove your worth. Instead, you become the person who others seek out, who they wonder about, who stays on their mind. Not because you're trying to be unforgettable, but because your energy simply is. It's not loud, but it's strong. It's not desperate, but it's deeply alluring. That's the kind of presence that lingers long after the last text, the last date, the last word. Because mystery, when it's real, doesn't disappear. It leaves a mark, one that stays. When you finally understand the secret energy men fall for every time, you stop chasing and start radiating. You no longer rely on effort alone to be seen, you rely on alignment. You realize that your energy, your boundaries, your joy, your mystery, your peace, those are the things that speak louder than words. That's what draws someone in and keeps them there, not because you tried harder, but because you stood truer. You didn't change yourself to be chosen. You became so grounded in your worth that only the right energy could match yours. And that is the kind of power that not only attracts the right man, it inspires him to never let you go.